All right, welcome back from our brief break. So our next speaker is Rashida Felder, and she is the Governor's Records Archivist for the State Archives, where she works with materials from the offices of both the Governor and the Lieutenant Governor and offers guidance on records management issues. Rashida received her master's in library science from Queens College of the City University of New York. And she has 15 years working in this field and 7 here at the State Archives. So we're fortunate to have her with us today to talk about the records of Governor Beverly Eaves Perdue. Thanks, Rashida. Come on up.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me here. It's my pleasure to be here with you today. So I'm hoping that we're all enjoying what's going to happen up here. So I'm Rashida. I'm the Governor's Records Archivist. I preserve, arrange, and describe the records for the Office of the Governor and the Lieutenant Governor. As Adrian said, I also assist them with records management issues, and I help them transfer their archival records to the State Archives. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about public records, government records, Office of the Governor records, the types of records that we have here in the State Archives. And then we'll go over some highlights of a female politician in North Carolina, the first female governor of North Carolina, Beverly Perdue. Oh. Okay. So the State Archives has a history as a repository of the governor's records. Its holding spans from the colonial era to the present governor's administration. The record group consists of a variety of formats such as original correspondence in paper and electronic, letter books, photographs, sound recordings, video, email, and electronic records. The governor's records have been recognized as public records for over 200 years. North Carolina law identifies the letters and papers written and received by the governor in the course of public business as public records rather than as private papers. So I have an example here for you from our colonial records. This is a letter from King George III to Governor Josiah Martin, dated February 4th, 1772. I wanted to read it with a British accent, but I will not. So it starts off, additional instruction to our trusty and well-beloved Josiah Martin, Esquire, our Captain General and Governor-in-Chief in and over our province of North Carolina in America. And with an intro like that, you know he's about to tell him that he did something wrong. And that is what happens. So basically, let me go to the second page here. He tells him, you need to stop creating bills and laws without my permission. I am the king. I will let you know what you can do. So that's the letter that we have here. If you would like to see this, it's available through our online digital collection, and that web address is digital.ncdcr.gov. And for that, you can just go online and you'll be able to put this in and put in King George to Josiah Martin, and you'll be able to pull this up. If you'd like to see the original document, you can go through the search room of the State Archives and they'll be able to pull this document for you. And I also even have his signature. Okay, so the modern governor's records consist of numerous record series generated by the many various offices that are organized under the governor. Some record series include boards and commission records, business and economic affairs, intergovernmental and external relations, and volunteerism and community services. Some record types include executive orders, proclamations, press releases, and speeches. Here I have an example of a proclamation that Governor Perdue issued at the approach of Hurricane Irene in 2011. This proclamation was an issuance of a state of emergency for certain counties in the path of the storm. And you can see that it was signed by Governor Perdue and the Secretary of State, Elaine Marshall, and sealed with the Great Seal of the state of North Carolina. So that just gives you a taste, just a taste of some of the types of governor's records we have here. Now we're going to go over some highlights from Governor Perdue's administration. Beverly Eaves Perdue's political career started with her being elected to the North Carolina House of Representatives, where she served from 1987 to 1991. She was then elected to the North Carolina Senate, where she served from 1991 through 2000. She was then elected as the 32nd and first female lieutenant governor of North Carolina, serving from 2001 through 2008. And then Ms. Perdue was elected to the office of governor of North Carolina in 2008, serving from 2009 through 2012. Governor Perdue's collection of records is mostly unprocessed, meaning that the records that we have here in the state archives are exactly the way they were sent to us from the office of the governor. We do have some executive orders, proclamations, press releases, and speeches that have been digitized, and those are available on the online digital collections that I mentioned, which is digital.ncdcr.gov. I feel like if I keep saying it over and over, that you'll be able to remember it and you won't even have to write it down. You'll just know to go in digital.ncdcr.gov, and you'll be able to look at our collections because we have a lot of records there that you might find interesting. So government public records are the evidence of the transaction of public business by government employees. Governor's records include record series like correspondence, briefing memorandums, and boards and commission appointments. But today we're going to talk about the photographs file. We have an extensive photograph collection for Governor Perdue for all of her time in office, and we're going to look at some of those records today. And then many of these photos have digitized corresponding records of press releases and proclamations and executive orders that correspond with the event. And you can have access to those at digital.ncdcr.gov. Governor Perdue's inauguration was on January 10th, 2009. She became governor during a time of turmoil for North Carolina, as well as the country, during what has been called the Great Recession, the financial crisis, and the mortgage crisis. In her inaugural speech, she addressed the troubled times, saying, "Today I pledge that this new beginning is much more than symbolic. I accept this oath of office to serve as North Carolina's 73rd governor with complete resolve to meet the challenges before us directly and forcefully." And if you would like to see that speech in its entirety, you can go to our online digital collections. So Governor Perdue addressed many issues during her administration, but today we're just going to go over a few: economic recovery, healthcare, and education. Governor Perdue worked to address the economic challenges following the 2008 financial crisis. She promoted job creation, particularly in the clean energy and technology sectors. She faced significant budget shortfalls and had to make tough decisions regarding spending cuts. So here she is signing the Consumer Economic Protection Act bill in September of 2009. This bill was created to help homeowners facing foreclosure, preserve communities, and protect consumers from unfair debt collectors. Here she is at an economic stimulus workshop in June of 2009. Through Governor Perdue's Jobs Now initiative, the state worked aggressively to create jobs, train the North Carolina workforce, and lay the foundation for a strong and sustainable economic future. During her time in office, she attended many job announcements, and this is one from the Solar Farm Green job announcements. I'm trying to go slow so that, like, if you're in the photo, you'll be able to recognize yourself. And if you know somebody, you can be like, "Hey, that's my cousin." And here's one from EcoVolt job announcement. And this is just a few of the many companies that brought their businesses to North Carolina, stimulated those economies, and brought jobs to those communities. Governor Perdue's administration aimed to expand access to health care, supporting efforts to improve Medicaid and promote preventive care. So here she is getting her regular flu shot. In prepared remarks, she said, "To prepare for both H1N1 and seasonal flu, we've started a massive outreach effort. I don't want folks to be scared, but I do want every North Carolinian to be vigilant and prepared." And here she is at the health reform meeting with White House Health Reform Director Nancy Ann DeParle. And this is at A&T. This is her signing the military bill of June of 2011, and this bill helped military service members with health care as well as tuition and voting. And this is at the Cherry Hospital groundbreaking. During her speech at the groundbreaking, Governor Perdue said, "This is a milestone for North Carolina's mental health system. As we break ground on a new state-of-the-art Cherry Hospital, it will embody a 21st century model for helping the mentally ill, and I believe will be a step towards safer and healthier communities for North Carolina." Governor Perdue prioritized education reform, advocating for increased funding for public schools and community colleges. She supported initiatives to raise teacher salaries and improve educational outcomes. This is at her first education cabinet meeting here with the cabinet's executive director and Senator Howard Lee at Wake Tech. In remarks to the North Carolina Education Cabinet, she said, "My goal is to ensure we are not only giving our kids the promise of an education, but a career promise. Every child everywhere in North Carolina must have the skills to work in any career anywhere in the world." And this is meeting with students and teachers at Mount Holly Middle School. And this one is visiting with teachers and students at Conn Elementary in 2009. And here she is visiting with the students in Primary Beginnings Pre-K program in 2012. A month later, she issued a proclamation stating that April of 2012 would be the month of the young child, and April 23rd through the 27th of 2012 would be the week of the young child. In this proclamation, she urged all citizens to recognize and support the needs of young children in our state. Okay, so that is Governor Perdue participating in a few of the key areas of her administration. But the governor of North Carolina does more than sign bills and make proclamations. The governor of North Carolina participates in organizations, events, as well as community and holiday events to foster community engagement, promote state unity, and celebrate the cultural diversity of the state. These events help strengthen connections with citizens, showcase local traditions, and provide a platform for the governor to address public and support local initiatives. Participating in these events also reinforces the governor's role as a representative of the state and its values. So here she is at the 117th annual session of the Western North Carolina Convention of AME Churches, where she spoke about being more involved with helping kids in our communities. And we do have her remarks from this event, but they're more in bullet point form because some of our speeches are bullet point form, some of them are PowerPoint, and some of them are the full remarks. And here she is on Veterans Day in 2011. In our digital collection, we have press releases documenting the events that led up to this Veterans Day observance, including an announcement of free meals and services offered to veterans and active military, as well as a statewide military summit that was held at Fort Bragg. And here she is with participants at the Susan G. Komen Race for the Cure. Oh, they're wearing shirts that say "Just Purdue It." I just recognized that. That's some good marketing. And since yesterday was Halloween, I wanted to show some photographs from the Halloween at the governor's mansion. And this is just her engaging with citizens and handing out candy at the mansion. And then for your viewing pleasure, I have a baby dressed as a duck. So cute. And then with the holiday, well, you know what? Let's look at it this one a little bit longer. I know. Ooh. And then with the holidays just around the corner, I wanted to show some pictures from the tree lighting ceremony, and this is the one from 2010. And then here she is with Santa Claus. So as you can see, the records that we have here at the State Archives document her time in office as the executive officer of the state. If you are interested in more personal records, like biographical records or her personal photographs, that collection is actually at Meredith College. So you can go there if you're interested in more of her personal records. The records that we have here, you can go to our online digital collection at digital.ncdcr.gov. So you can see the press releases, proclamations, executive orders. If you're interested in additional records other than the photographs, you can go through the search room at the State Archives. And all of these photographs are available through the search room. I did have one more item I wanted to show you. This is an interview with Tom Normanley from the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, and it was recorded in 2018. In this interview, she talks about a wide range of issues from her childhood to education to being a woman in politics. But in this particular clip, she talks about how she's been able to be successful as a woman in politics and maintain a good work-life balance.
This is from Mary and Caroline Haley.
Oh,
Being governor means doing a lot of work and being in charge. It sounds really hard. Plus, you are a mom. What helped you get through the tough days being governor?
the fact that I was a mom, the fact that I was a wife, and the fact that I always had a safe place to return to, even if it was 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. There was always somebody that loved me and that didn't judge me and were really resilient with me. I think it's very important for people in high pressure jobs, whether it's politics or the private sector, to remember at the end of the day, and all of us have an end of the day, that those people around a bed in your house or a hospital bed, they won't be the folks at work. They won't be the folks that you spent most of your time with over the past 30 years. They'll be your family and your friends. So if you have priorities, take care of yourself and take care in some way, even if it's an insignificant way, the relationships that you have that you'll want to have after you leave the spotlight.
Okay, so if you are interested in seeing that video, that interview in its entirety, it is available, or it will soon be available on our YouTube channel. If you would like access to that right now, you can contact me and I can send you a link to it. And that is all that I have today. Thank you so much for having me.
So I know over time, governor's records have changed a lot, and you showed us that a very early one, and then this Perdue documents are pretty recent. So you have a lot of different changing formats, but I guess within the governor's records you've seen on either side of Perdue, did hers differ at all? Are there more photos? It was a lot of wonderfully rich photos you were able to show, so that was great.
A lot of the records, the modern ones, are very business oriented, very straight-laced, very transactional, and not as much of their personal thoughts on the work that they're doing. In the earlier records, we kind of got more communication, more correspondence, more unguarded moments that you would see in the records. The newer ones, do not have those types of moments. I think that people are aware that we have access to these public records now, and so are a bit more cautious in putting those types of records in, putting them down on record.
I was curious about the email because there's so much massive amount of email generated. You actually try to somehow organize that?
That is a good question. The email that we have is a lot because there are certain positions in each department where we need to capture their email because the records that they're creating are archival, and we need to have that. Because we have so much email, sometimes it is not possible to go through and process it all, but we do have ways to find what people are looking for. So if somebody wants some email, wants a particular type of email, wants an email that's written by someone to someone else, we do have ways in being able to search those records in that way.
So, are you able to include archival information on the first ladies and first gentlemen, or any of their activities? For example, Janelle Moore and her efforts to improve the management of the executive mansion.
So a lot of the work that the first ladies do is considered archival. Even some of the social media records that they have, their Twitter accounts and some of their Instagram accounts, because they are doing work that is considered the work of the government, we do have those records, and we do have records for the management of the mansion. Are there any other questions? Oh, there is.
Curious how the records loosely, how the records are broken down. I love going through old governor letter boxes. And today that's going to be a big box, probably many boxes, but sort of what does that collection look like?
You mean a processed collection or an unprocessed collection?
Processed.
So a processed collection looks beautiful. It's in Fiberdex boxes. Those Fiberdex boxes have folders, and the folders are labeled, and you should be able to find whatever it is that you're looking for, and there will be a finding aid that will help you know what is in the box and which box it is in and what you should find when you go there to look.
How different subsections to that collection? What are the types of things that you would find, and how would they be separated?
So we call them record series, and a record series would be generally an office from underneath the governor. So we might have the Office of Hispanic and Latino Affairs. And then underneath there, we might have correspondence. And then underneath there, we might have policies. So it would just be a main office or a main commission or a important program. And we would have the records that they sent to us organized in a way that there's just like a hierarchy of records. But we might also have special projects that only that governor has. And so we'd have to create the hierarchy ourselves. Am I answering your question? Okay, but usually we are able to, we're able to go through and look at the records and see where how they should be organized, because our main goal is access. We want whoever is looking at these records to be able to find what they're looking for and to be able to go through them in an organized way. So that's how we try to organize them.
So Rashida, you said that a lot of the collection's still unprocessed. So can you explain what portion is on the digital ncdcr.gov?
What portion?
Yeah, if they're unprocessed, I'm guessing they're not digitized.
Right,
But
so
some are.
for the modern governors, so for the historic governors,
For Bev Perdue.
for Beverly Perdue, we have digitized her executive orders, her proclamations, her press releases, and her speeches. The rest of the records that we have are in boxes, bigger boxes, not the beautiful Fiberdex ones that are like smaller. And the records that are in there are the way they were sent to us from the office of the governor. So if they just put a bunch of paper in a box, then that is how we have it. And if someone wants access to that box, we will make sure that there's no confidential information in there. But if there isn't, then we will just give you access to that box and you can look through it. What we try to do when they're processed, though, is to organize them in a more organized way.
just to follow up on that for one moment too, though, but they do typically come in record series. So it's not, they're not, you don't get a mass of boxes that
Yes.
are unidentifiable. They are,
Absolutely.
there's already some pre-identification associated with them.
Yes, that was an example of like an exaggerated example of what might happen possibly sometime. Honestly, I will say that the Office of the Governor, they are always very, very particular about how they organize their records, which is really nice for me because they have folders, and the current administration works with me because I work with them on their records management issues. So what they are planning to send to us, I've already seen, and it looks great. It's very organized. And I actually haven't ever seen a box with papers just like thrown in there like that. It might exist, but I haven't seen it.
One note that I'll add, for the governor's series that are like mid-20th century, they're processed, as Rashida said, they're beautifully processed. But oftentimes the subjects and the series, the way that they're divided, is actually reflective of how the governor's office had arranged it themselves. So system they used to have is they would classify every letter that came in as under a subject or a particular person or an issue, and they would sometimes write it on there in red pencil or put it in that, and that's where it ended up generally, unless the governor's archivist at the time decided they had it wrong. But generally that's where it is. So a lot of governors in that mid-20th century point, their office did the arrangement, at least the first step, without even realizing it. So a lot of that. So that's why sometimes you'll see maybe the same subject for one governor, it might say segregation, and the next governor says civil rights, and the next governor says integration of schools. And it might be the same letter chain over a decade, but each governor's office put it in a different subject, because that's how they're filing that correspondence.
And also to go into, really briefly, to go into the records management side of things, we have record retention schedules that list how the record series and the item number so that they will know how to organize those records. So it's already there for them. All they have to do is look at it, and they can follow the guide that we've given them on how to organize their records. Okay, well, thank you so much for having me, everyone.